Hey everybody, how the heck are you? Alright, so I want to share with all of you guys how I came up with this crazy idea for the banner in the film For the Love of Flying and the making of it. I got pictures, I got lots of pictures of the progress of this, and it's really cool. Really, really cool. Something no other pilot that enters into the AZDroneFest would do, except for this one. And I knew by making this banner, I would never be able to enter this in any other film festival because of that banner. But that was okay, because making it was not only like, okay, nobody else is going to do this. And it wasn't just for that, but it was also my way of paying homage and respect to the AZDroneFest. Out of all the films I've made and put into film festivals, and I've put into a lot of film festivals, this film festival, the AZDroneFest, is by far my absolute favorite. So what gave me the idea was a video I saw online of this mural that was in a field. Okay, it was a beautiful mural, and somebody flew an FPV drone around it to the music. You know, they dubbed it to the music Master of Puppets from Metallica, and I was like, that is freaking cool, man. And that was the end of that. I was just like, that's really cool. Shortly after I saw that, a friend of mine told me, hey, you do realize that your drone, which is a Mavic Air 2S, that has an FPV capability on it. It's not full FPV, but it gives you that really good tilted horizon look. And I was like, oh, really? I must investigate this. I went out and studied that and practiced that. And while I was doing that, I was reminded of that FPV shot that I saw of the guy going around the field with an FPV drone. And I'm like, oh, I need to do this. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to fly over with my logo. And I was like, no, not Totality Films, no logo. What about my music? No, not music. Well, what about Glamis, my other music venture? I can do Glamis. That's a cool logo. And I was like, no, if I do anything that's mine, it just seems like it's too self-absorbed. I mean, it wouldn't be right. So I got thinking, what could I do? The AZDroneFest. I could recreate the logo for the AZDroneFest and fly over that. So I went to the garage and I measured out how big, I just pulled a number out of my head. I was like 9 by 6, 9 feet, 6 feet. That's big. It's good to see from the air. But it's not big enough. I wanted bigger, much bigger. So I got online and I looked for a canvas, and the best one I could find that had no seams running through the canvas was 15 feet by 12 feet. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. So I went and measured again in the garage, and it just barely fit where the car would park in the garage. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'm getting this canvas. And here's a picture of the canvas that I got. Laying it out in the garage, I'm looking at this going, oh my God, what did I do? What have I gotten myself into? All right, let's do this. So I knew I couldn't use any acrylic paint. I couldn't use latex for sure, house paint or any other kind of paint other than spray paint, because I needed something that would bind to the canvas, not something that had the potential to crack and flake off when folding up the canvas. If you don't layer what you're doing on something like this just right in the right order, then you're going to destroy what you're doing. And there's also the overspray issue. So I mean, everything has to be covered up so you don't have overspray, because every line on that, every single thing that's painted on that canvas, it's like, well, here goes nothing. You get one shot, one chance. That's it. So you got to make sure you do it right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you some pictures of putting this thing together. To get the state on the canvas, I took a full-size sheet that I was never going to use again, and I cut out the shape of the state and laid that down on the middle of the canvas. Found the center of the canvas and laid that out. And what I'm doing, I'm not taping it down there. I'm actually taping around it, because I'm using it as a stencil, more or less, of that sheet. So once I got it all taped around it, that's when the sheet came up and I was able to spray paint it yellow, just like the logo for the AZDroneFest. Once the yellow was down, then I was able to put the sheet back on it and use that as a nice covering so that nothing else gets on the yellow while I'm taking care of the state flag that is behind the state. So here's the blue being laid down. Next up was, of course, to get the rays that are on the Arizona flag. The yellow was actually the easiest to cover. I mean, this shade of yellow, because it's different than what the state is. But the coverage was great. It went beautifully, and then right after that I was able to tag it with the red. The red took a little bit more, obviously. It seems like the darker colors just needed a lot more paint than I thought, but that's okay. It's a good project, and it's coming out absolutely awesome. And not to worry, the paint that's on the garage floor, we were able to get that up. So luckily we could get it up with a lot of scrubbing and Comet Cleanser. On the actual DroneFest logo, there is a shadow behind the state, and I wanted to get that on there. So there's a little black shadow that I painted around the state just really quickly, just not too heavy or anything, to get that shadow look. So that's what's now on there. You take the sheet away, boom, shadow behind the state. It came out great. I was so happy how well that shadow came out. All right, next came the letters, and this is where I used poster board. And one thing about the logo is AZ is the biggest letters, Drone are smaller, and Fest is not as big as the AZ, but bigger than Drone. So there we go. I got the letters cut out. There's a good picture of me in front of the letters. And now it's time to take the letters off and use the tape, of course, as a stencil, and paint each letter individually. When I pulled the tape away from the AZ, the final tape, just to, okay, let's see what this looks like, I was just floored. I'm like, oh my God, this is working. Because there's no do-overs. It's either nail it or you're screwed. The very middle of the word drone is a drone icon. And I was dreading this part because I didn't know how the heck I'm going to do this. I just happened to be in the kitchen and I was looking at a cutting board and I'm like, hey, do we have a cutting board that's big? And I found one, went out to the garage, placed it in between the R and the N on drone, and went, oh my gosh, this is the perfect size. So what I did was I covered the entire cutting board with painter's tape. Then I drew out the drone logo, that little icon, and then cut that out with a, just like a little orange razor knife, like a box cutter knife, and ended up with the drone, right? So then I was able to peel that off of the cutting board and place that on the canvas as my stencil, because it's tape. It's going to stick. I don't have to worry about overspray going underneath it. And then spray that logo, that little icon. And it worked. Oh my God, I was so happy that it worked. And in the very, very middle of the drone icon is a star. And that is the only part of the entire canvas that is painted with acrylic paint. Afterwards, I finished up making the word Fest, and then I was done. I mean, this took a month to do in the garage. And I couldn't do it during the day because it was way too hot. Even at night, it's the middle of summer, I'm doing this. It's just so freaking hot at night that I had to wait until it was, between 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock at night, and do it for a few hours every night. But I was still sweating pretty bad doing it. But it took a month to do. And, little by little, we got it done. And it came out beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. From there, it's just a matter of, okay, let's go find places to fly. And I did my research. I ended up going to lots of places. One of them was SP Crater, which is a dormant volcano. And I am absolutely terrified of volcanoes. And a dormant one, it could blow up at any time. So, I mean, I had to face my fear. I wanted the landscape. I wanted what it looked like, because there's a whole lava field coming off from that volcano that's very well preserved. And was like, okay, all right, I want that shot. I want to put the banner there. Okay, we're going to SP Crater. I'm just going to have to deal with it. It came out great, though. I mean, all the places we went to, I wanted to make sure the banner was a very strong part of showing the landscape, and you would see the banner every now and then. One shot in particular I am thrilled about, and it was completely intentional, where the drone shadow goes across the banner. And I tried so hard in so many places to get that shot. And finally, a meadow outside of Flagstaff, the light was just right. The landscape was just right for what the banner was resting on. And it to me, it's just like, that's the statement shot. While I was out filming in one area, a couple came across us and they saw what we were doing. We got to talking, and the lady really wanted to take a picture of us holding up the banner. So that's what this is. And you can clearly see how big this thing is. We couldn't even hold the whole thing up. I thought it was really sweet of her to want to go ahead and take a picture, kind of marking the moment of what we were doing. And for me, it's kind of like a priceless picture now. Before I went out to film anything, I had this crazy idea of like, okay, what if I got a really long dowel, attached that to the top of the banner, and then took a rope from that and attached it to my other drone, my Karma, and had that lift up the banner in the air, and I could fly my Mavic around it while it's in the air. One drone carrying the banner and another drone, orbiting it or whatever. And I was like, that'd be a really, really good shot. And, it was just an attempt. But I did manage to take video of it trying. And no, it didn't work at all. It cannot do it no matter what. It just can't do it. I tell you, the hardest part was trying to land the Karma being attached to that thing. I had to come back on it and then lower it down and to the side, and hopefully not have the leash try and go up in the blades. It worked. The Karma survived. But I figured, you know what? Risk has its rewards. But it was a successful failure. Successful in the fact that I did not crash the Karma. The music score to it is actually a song that I was working on in the beginning of the year, which is still going to be worked on. My partner in music crime, Casey Lyon, is going to be putting vocals on a lot of metal music that I made, and that was one of the tracks. However, for this, I shortened it and I changed up a few things to the track just so I could use this composition for this film. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.